Ever feel like you're just drowning in data when you're trying to compare really complex tech, like maybe two cutting-edge fighter jets?
Yeah, you see all the numbers, the specs, but figuring out what it all really means, that's tough.
Exactly. And that's what we try to crack open here on the Deep Dive.
Yeah.
We take that dense information and, well, pull out the insights you actually need.
And today, we're definitely locking sights on a pretty interesting matchup. The Chinese J-10 squaring off against a French Rafale. We've got technical specs, comparative reviews. Sources say both are, highly capable in a war zone.
Right. So our mission today is to get past just the numbers and really understand what are the core differences, what makes each one tick.
And hopefully give you a clear picture without getting lost in all the jargon.
Let's do it. So climbing into the virtual cockpit. First up, the J-10. This is China's single-engine multi-role fighter.
Built for the People's Liberation Army Air Force.
Yeah, designed for strikes, air-to-air combat, and importantly, it's an all-weather aircraft. A real workhorse, as our source puts it.
And facing it, we have the Rafale from France. Now, this one's twin engine, also multi-role.
Okay.
But what really stands out is its versatility. It operates from land bases and aircraft carriers.
Oh, interesting. Carrier capability is a big deal.
It is. And it's designed for a huge range of tasks. Air superiority, air defense, close air support, deep strikes, reconnaissance, anti-ship attacks, even nuclear deterrence. It's meant to be like the complete package.
Okay, so two very capable jets, but definitely different philosophies there, maybe. Let's get into the physical side. Size first. Lengthwise, surprisingly close.
Yeah, not much in it.
The J-10 is about 16 feet long. Rafale, maybe just a bit shorter, around 15¼ feet. Doesn't seem like a huge difference sitting on the tarmac.
Not in length, no, but look at the wings. That's where you see a bigger difference.
Wow, okay.
J-10's wing area is 360 square feet, the Rafale. Significantly bigger at 492 square feet.
Wow, okay, that's quite a bit more wing. What does that mean in practice?
Well, generally, more wing area gives you better maneuverability, especially at lower speeds. Think better turning.
Right.
And it generates more lift. Crucial when you're hauling, lots of weapons and fuel.
Makes sense. More lift, tighter turns, potentially. What about their weight before loading up? Empty weight.
They're pretty close there, too, actually. J-10 is around 9,750 kilograms.
Correct.
And the Rafale is about 10,300 kilos. So, yeah, similar starting point.
But that's empty. What about when they're fully loaded? Maximum takeoff weight.
That's where the Rafale pulls ahead significantly. Its max takeoff weight is 24,500 kilograms.
Okay, and the J-10?
The J-10's limit is lower, around 19,277 kilograms.
So that suggests the Rafale can carry quite a bit more overall, like fuel and weapons combined.
Exactly. More payload capacity, potentially more fuel for longer missions. It points towards that greater reach and endurance.
Let's talk radar now, kind of the eyes and ears of these things. Our sources mentioned both have a radar cross-section, or RCS, of about 1 square meter.
Right. And for you listening, a lower RCS generally means it's harder for enemy radar to spot you. So 1 square meter sounds comparable on the surface.
Yeah, it seems like they might be equally stealthy, if you can use that term loosely here.
Well, yes and no. While the RCS value is similar, the type of radar each uses is really important.
Okay.
The Rafale uses an AESA radar that's active electronically scanned array, the RBE2 model specifically.
And the J-10, does it have an ESA? The source doesn't explicitly state for the baseline J-10, but newer variants might.
The source we have highlights the Rafale's AESA, the RBE2, with its 838 transmitter-receive modules. Think of those like hundreds of tiny radars working together.
Okay, so what's the advantage?
The source suggests that despite the similar RCS size, the Rafale's AESA gives it an edge in detecting the J-10. It's got a larger detection area, it's more advanced tech.
So
AESA radars are generally faster scanning, much harder to jam, and they can track more targets at once compared to older radar types. So it might see the J-10 first.
Gotcha. So even with a similar radar signature size, the tech behind the radar matters a lot.
Definitely. It could be a critical difference in an actual engagement.
All right, let's talk about legs. How far can these jets fly? Fuel capacity and range.
Big differences here, too.
The J-10 internally carries about 3,860 kilograms of fuel, plus can add another 3,120 kilos in external tanks.
Okay, so nearly 7,000 kilograms total, roughly.
Roughly, yeah. Now the Rafale, internally, it holds more, 4,700 kilograms. And externally, it can carry way more, up to 6,700 kilograms.
Wow, that's a lot of external fuel, over 11,000 kilogram total potential fuel load.
Huge difference. And how does that translate into how far they can actually fight? Combat range.
Well, that extra fuel gives the Rafale significantly more reach. Its combat range, with 3 external tanks, is listed as 1,850 kilometers.
1,850 kilometers, okay? And the J-10?
The J-10's combat range is noted as 900 kilometers.
So less than half the range of the Rafale in that configuration.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a substantial difference. And the ferry range, just flying point A to point B without combat loads, also reflects this.
What are those numbers?
Rafale's ferry range is 3,700 kilometers. J-10's is 3,200 kilometers. Still a decent range for the J-10, but the Rafale just goes further.
That difference in combat range has got to have major strategic implications, right? Where you can base them, how long they can stay on station.
Absolutely. It means the Rafale can operate further from its base, cover a larger area, or loiter longer over a target zone. Big advantage.
Okay, engines and speed. Let's talk thrust. The J-10, we understand, now uses a Chinese engine, the Shenyang WS-10.
That's right. Replacing earlier Russian engines, it puts out up to 140 kilonewtons of thrust. That's the force pushing it.
And its top speed. Pretty quick.
Yeah, Mach 2.1. So over twice the speed of sound, around 2,305 kilometers per hour.
Fast. How about the Rafale?
The Rafale has 2 engines, the Snecma M88-4E turbofans. Together, they produce up to 150 kilonewtons.
So slightly more thrust combined than the J-10 single engine.
A bit more, yes, but its top speed is lower, Mach 1.8, which is about 1,912 kilometers per hour.
Interesting trade-off. J-10 is faster, but the Rafale has 2 engines. Is there an advantage to twin engines besides just combined thrust?
Oh, definitely. Redundancy is key. If one engine fails, you've still got another one to hopefully get you home.
Right, safety factor.
Plus, twin engines can sometimes offer better acceleration, especially when heavily loaded, though our sources don't detail that specifically. But it's often a factor.
Okay, let's get to the pointy end. Weapons. What can these jets actually carry into a fight? J-10 first.
It's got 11 hard points. Those are the attachment points for weapons and pods.
11, okay.
And it can carry up to 5,600 kilograms externally. It has a 23-millimeter cannon, standard stuff like unguided rockets.
That had missiles.
Yeah, a range of air-to-air missiles, PL-8, PL-10, PL-12, and notably the PL-15.
The PL-15, that's the long-range one, right?
Exactly. Our source pegs its range at over 200 kilometers. That's significant BVR beyond visual range capability.
Wow. And air-to-ground.
It can carry missiles like the KD-88 anti-radiation missile and the YJ-91 anti-ship missile, plus guided and unguided bombs. Quite versatile.
Okay, 11 hard points. 5,600 kilogram payload, long-range PL-15. Sounds capable. How does the Rafale compare?
Well, the Rafale steps up quite a bit in terms of capacity. It has 14 hard points.
14. Okay, 3 more.
And a much larger external payload limit. 9,500 kilograms.
Whoa, that's almost double the J-10's external load.
Nearly, yeah. It also carries a heavier cannon, a 30-millimeter GI-8 gun, and its missile list is extensive.
Like what?
Air-to-air, you've got the MBDA Mica, the Meteor, Magic 2. The source really highlights the Meteor missile.
Why the Meteor specifically?
Because of its engine tech. It uses a ducted ramjet. This lets it fly faster for longer, maintain energy deep into the engagement.
So similar 200 kilometers plus range like the PL-15, but potentially better performance at that range?
Potentially superior, yes. More maneuverable, harder to evade at distance. Then you've got a huge list of air-to-ground stuff. MBDA, Apache cruise missiles, Storm Shadow Scallop-Key cruise missiles, ASM hammer-guided bombs, GBU laser-guided bombs, AS-30 laser-guided missiles, Mark 82 bombs.
Okay, a lot of options.
Anti-ship missiles like the Exocet, and as mentioned, even the ASMP nuclear missile. It really underlines that multi-role design.
No kidding. The sheer variety is impressive.
Okay, couple more performance details. Service ceiling, how high they can fly.
Right. The J-10 actually has a slight edge here, according to the specs, 56,000 feet.
Compared to the Rafale?
Rafale's listed at 51,952 feet.
So about 4,000 feet lower. Does that make a practical difference in, say, a dogfight?
Probably not much, honestly. Both fly well within the altitudes where most combat happens. It might offer a tiny energy advantage in theory, but sensor performance, missile capability, pilot skill, those are usually far more decisive than a few thousand feet difference in max altitude.
Okay, good context. And climbing. How fast can they get upstairs? Rate of climb?
Very, very close. Rafale is listed at 304 meters per second.
And J-10?
Just slightly less,
Okay.
at 300 meters per second. So practically identical.
Okay.
Not really a difference you'd notice.
Extremely unlikely to be a deciding factor, no. It's basically a wash. Other things like thrust-to-weight ratio and different parts of the flight envelope matter more for acceleration and climb performance during combat.
Right. Now let's shift to something that always gets attention. Cost. Big difference here, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah. A huge difference based on these numbers.
The Rafale comes in at around $125 million per plane.
Oof. Yeah, that's top-tier pricing.
And the J-10C, which is a more modern variant of the J-10, is listed at about $35 million.
$35 million versus $125. That's, wow, almost 4 times cheaper for the J-10C.
So how do you weigh that massive cost difference against the capabilities we've discussed?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Or rather, the multi-billion-dollar question for governments.
Yeah.
You have the Rafale with its broader mission set, greater range, bigger payload, possibly better radar and missiles.
Yeah.
But at that premium price. Then you have the J-10, clearly a very capable jet itself, especially the C model, available at a fraction of the cost. Do you want fewer, potentially more capable jets, or a larger fleet of still very good jets?
It really forces you to think about what you absolutely need versus what's nice to have and what your budget allows.
Exactly. It depends entirely on the country's specific defense strategy, threats, alliances, and finances.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this comparison up. Key takeaways.
Well, the J-10 seems like a really solid, capable, multi-role fighter. Probably more cost-effective, lets you potentially field more aircraft.
A strong contender, especially on a budget.
Definitely. While the Rafale offers, well, more of almost everything: versatility, range, payload, maybe tech, edge, and sensors, and some weapons like Meteor, but you pay significantly for that comprehensive capability.
And like our sources said at the start, both are seen as superior, highly effective platforms in a war zone.
Correct. They represent different approaches, maybe, but both are formidable.
So at the end of the day, there isn't one simple answer to which is better.
No, absolutely not. The better choice is entirely context dependent. It hinges on what an Air Force needs, what it can afford, and what its strategic priorities are.
What works for France might not be the right fit for Pakistan or Egypt, and vice versa.
Precisely. And, looking at these two and the differences, especially in things like range, payload, and maybe sensor tech, it makes you wonder.
Wonder what?
What's next? What kind of advancements are coming down the pipeline that might, bridge these kinds of capability gaps or maybe create entirely new ways of thinking about air combat? Are we going to see 6th-gen fighters focus even more on range or maybe stealth or AI integration?
Yeah. That's a great question to leave our listeners with. Beyond just the J-10 versus Rafale, what does this kind of comparison tell us about the future direction of fighter jet technology?
Definitely something to think about.